Welcome back to another episode of Let's Play Pokemon Sapphire with yours truly, Mudkip Rocketship 3003. Now, before I get to one of the things I wanted to talk about real quick, I'm sorry, I kinda have to go on a little bit of a mini rant here. This is, like, it's not so much, like, for just the sake of ranting, it's more just, like, not a PSA exactly, but just one of those things where it's just like, you just want to let people know about something. But this happened to me the other day, and it wasn't like yesterday, but it was I think a couple of days ago. But if you okay, for those of you that don't play piano, for those of you that don't play an instrument at all, for those of you that are just non-musical, this, it's mainly directed at you, and I'm not, like, trying to, like, call you out, I'm not trying to, like, slam you or anything, I'm not trying to, like, make you feel bad, but I will say this, because obviously not all of you do make this mistake, but one thing I would like to make rather clear is that for those of you that maybe sometimes go, if you see somebody sitting at a piano and trying to play something, don't go over to the piano and start pressing random keys. Don't, wait for the guy to finish, or wait for the lady to finish, depending on who's playing piano. But what I'm saying is, don't, because maybe this person is trying to play a song that actually means a lot to them. It'd be the same thing if somebody was trying to, draw, a picture of, something that they saw from a dream, or something, like a distant memory, and they're trying to remind themselves of it, they're trying to, make something meaningful, and then you just go and start, scribbling random doodles in the corner of the image, or maybe it's not even, a doodle, maybe it's just, just aimless scribbling, and it's just dude, I'm trying to do something here, can you not? I mean, again, I can't stress enough, it's not supposed to be shaming you. I'm not trying to make you feel bad, but I will say that it's not really, it's not cool if you're gonna go up to somebody who's playing the piano and you just start mashing different keys. I don't care if it's quietly, I don't care if it's really way up high where you don't even notice, I don't care if it's way down low where it doesn't even matter. I don't care. It's not very nice to just, oh hey, you're trying to make beautiful music? No, screw you. Ugh! It is a little bit annoying. I'm sorry, I had to get that off of my chest because somebody was doing that the other day. I was trying, I have to give them a little bit of slack because it was just a little kid. They didn't really know any better. But the other day, we had some company over at my house, and I was trying to play something, because the adults were like, oh, you should play something for us, and I was like, okay, fine, whatever. So I went over to play, and towards the end of the song, or kind of closer, it was in the middle but closer to the end, where it's kind of getting a little bit of a build up in the song, they just start pressing random keys, the little kids start pressing random keys. I'm like, what are you doing? You really lose, get away from the piano. If they, it would be different if they, if they had, some musical education, or if they, knew how to make music, and they, did, some sort of, accompanying part with it, or if, they had, some sort of, backup, or, whatever. If they had something that, actually, made sense to go with the song, it sounded good, I wouldn't have minded as much. Even if it was oh, well, that's not how the song goes, but it still sounds cool, I would have been okay with that. But since it was just it's dude, come on. Come on. But again, giving them slack because they're just little kids, they don't know better. They were I don't know, I don't know. I'm really bad at guessing ages, but definitely below 10. Definitely below 10. Probably below 7. Maybe below 5. I don't know. They're still pretty little. They're at that age where you think, oh well, give them some slack. They don't know any better. Well, yeah, I know, but it still bothers me a little bit. I guess you guys can probably tell I probably wouldn't be a very good babysitter or anything. I mean, like, okay, well, some kids I'm pretty good with. Like, if they're, like, relatively chill, like, if they've gotten to the point where they're, like, starting to calm down a little bit, like, if they're around 10 or a little bit older than that, or maybe just a little bit younger than that, then usually I play nice with the kids. Usually it's, like, everything's okay, but, like, you know, when they're, like, really little and they're still, like, going crazy or whatever, it's like, like, it is a little bothersome, but I guess, you know, whatever. I try to, you know, cut them some slack, or just, you know, but anyways, that should be more or less the end of my rant here. Anyways, so getting back to what I was talking about, with pretty good timing, since I'm using Metallic Toad right now, it's well, okay, first of all, I should note that it wasn't while I was recording this, but wait, no, actually, yes. When I recorded this specific episode was actually when Metallic Toad had come over to my house really quick. This is post-commentary, by the way, in case you hadn't noticed. But, yeah, yeah, he had actually been over at my house when I recorded this, and I had been showing him just how awesome he does at this gym leader, or, well, I say he, but, like, you know, anyways, but, like, I had been showing him, like, how useful he would be in, like, throughout the entire gameplay, and he seemed pretty psyched about seeing the Pokemon that represents him. He seemed pretty psyched that he was doing pretty well at taking down this gym leader. And I remember we had gotten into a little bit of conversation about, like, you know, just different topics about how, what were we talking about? If Metallic Toad is watching this, I'm really sorry for not remembering the intricacies of our conversation, but anyways, I'm sure he'll eventually be watching this. But anyways, what was it? Oh yeah, so, I remember, okay, so the point I was gonna make was that he brought up, something, interesting, I guess you could say, that, and I guess it kind of makes sense. It's like one of those things like, oh, well, I mean, that's just kind of common sense, but it's just one of those things that for me, like, that moment that you realize it just clicks. Like, I don't know. I don't know if you guys have those moments where, like, oh, whoa, well, of course, like, it makes sense. Oh, and by the way, poor Metallic Toad getting critted right there. Anyways, yeah, like, just, I'm sure, like, everyone has had one of those moments where, like, they make, like, this sudden realization, like, oh, but then, like, immediately after they realize, they're like, oh, wait, no, duh, like, why didn't I think of that before? Like, it's like, when you realize it, it feels mind-blowing, and another crit, but, like, it's, yeah, like, it's one of those things, like, when you first realize, you're like, oh my god, mine equals blown, but then, when you take a moment to think about it, you're like, wait, that makes too much sense. It feels like it would be common sense. Anyways, getting to the point, what I was gonna say was that, like, he had brought up the topic of doing a lot of exercise, because he had been telling me that lately he had been getting into a little bit of more of a fitness habit. Like, he had, like, been trying to, like, improve his overall health, and I told him that that's good that you're getting into this, that you're concerned about your health, because, you know, like, you want to live, like, a fairly happy life. You don't want to have to be all like, oh man, this part of my body hurts, oh man, I have to go in for an operation for this, or I have to take all this medicine. You don't want to have to do all that. It becomes a hassle. So if you take care of your body, like, early, it really pays off later. But anyways, so he had been telling me about how he figured that he may as well get into a little bit of fitness anyways, and he had made kind of the the observation that about how quickly the Shroomish was getting experience points from defeating a Pokemon in a trainer battle, and we were both kind of like, oh wow, he just levels up in like one fight, but he made the observation that like it's almost exactly like working out, where like when you first start out working out, you notice like a lot of improvement. You like pretty quickly. Like obviously you do need to put some level of effort into it, and it does take a little bit of time, but it's never quite as fast as when you're first starting out, because when you first start out is like when your body's like, oh okay, I get to get rid of all of this fat, I get to build all this muscle, especially if you're like in your like later teens and maybe early 20s. That's when your like body is like peaking at like its physical development and all this other stuff. By the way, if I got those age groups wrong, Metallic Toad, I'm really sorry. But anyways, he'd been telling me about how it makes sense. Like it's just like working out. Like when you first start out, there's a lot of improvement, and then obviously once you start to like get really into it and like you're really like working out every day, then it becomes harder and harder to notice greater amounts of change for how much more effort you're putting into it. Just like with Pokemon, like as you start to level up higher and higher, you have to train a lot more, a lot harder just to get one level up. And as we'll see later in the Let's Play, I skip a lot of level grinding. Like it could be several days between recording, say, episode 15 and episode 16. It could be like, and like let's say it's like I recorded every day. It takes kind of a while, like later on in the game, as I'm sure you Pokemon aficionados will know. Yeah, it does take a while, and so, like, when he had been telling me this, I just thought, oh yeah, that makes so much sense! But then, like, when I thought about it, it's like, wait, it makes too much sense. Like, why didn't I make that connection earlier? Like, you guys know that feeling. You have to. Like, if you've been alive for any amount of time, you should know that feeling. Anyways, so yeah, this like it was just one of those things that I just thought like, oh man, mind equals blown. But then wait, oh no, that does make sense, because I mean your Pokemon are basically working out. Like they're doing physical training. They're like building up like muscles or like different I don't know, like they're like making different connections in their bodies or whatever. They're training, and it's not very different than how most humans train, or well, really any animal trains. Like as just you have to work out more as like you get bigger and more buff, and you know, I don't know that words kind of just not even coming out. Anyways. As you start to work out more, bottom line, as you start to work out more, you start having to do a lot more work for even less change. But anyways, yeah, I was about to make a little bit of a comparison to another analogy, but I don't want to step on any toes. I'll say it anyways, but just note that the residents of these different places should take this as lightly as possible. Don't take this offensively. It's not intended to be offensive. But let's say you're in a state, like I was gonna say, that make the comparison of like if you're in the state of say Texas, you'll go over to a restaurant and you'll pay say $10 for a very large meal, a very hearty meal, like something that's like, oh wow, this is like a very good amount of food. I don't even know if I can finish all this. Here, person sitting next to me, can you help me with this? Oh no man, I already got my own $10 plate. And you know, it's a good amount of food. The amount of food is more than justifies the price. But then let's say you come over to, let's say, sunny San Diego, California, and you go to one of the nice restaurants, and I'm using specifically this place just because I live here. You go over to one of the nice restaurants, or like just a restaurant, and you pay $20, and that like more or less feeds two, and it's like, you know, one of those places. And then once you start to get to somewhere really nice, like, I don't know, I can't really think of a place where they serve like really, really nice, like, French food or I don't know, like Spanish food, or like wherever they sell really, really fancy food, it starts being like, I don't know, $50 for like, what is this? This, I'm not filled at all by this. I mean, sure, it tastes pretty good, but like, I'm still very hungry. You waste a fortune. There's a lot more money spent just trying to fill up a little bit. That's the comparison I was gonna make, and for the people in the different areas, I hope you don't take offense. I hope my fellow San Diegans won't be like, oh dude, you can't just say that, because there are certain restaurants here that actually like are pretty cheap for the food that they have. I know. I live here. I know exactly what you're talking about. But anyways, yeah, that's just the quick comparison I wanted to make. But yeah, that's really all. It's just, it just makes too much sense that Pokemon working out when they first start out is pretty easy, and then later on in the game it gets really hard. But anyways, so that's about gonna wrap it up for this episode. Thank you so much for watching this video. Comment if you have anything to add, like if you did, and subscribe if you want more. So see you guys later.